What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, the Master League has arrived once again in the Go Battle League, and I finally built my Zacian. I can try it out in this meta. This Pokemon has an insane stat product, over 5,600 CP, and while there are some bad matchups for it, it has a lot of play with close combat as well as its signature move, Behemoth Blade. Let's get to the battles and see what this Pokemon can do. First game of the day, we see Zacian up against the opposing Zacian, the mirror match, about as neutral of a game as you can get, but I do have the best buddy active. That means I'm level 51, they are just level 50. That means I am guaranteed to win CMP in this matchup. Our opponent here throws right before the back-to-back close combat. They know at this point, if they wait till the last second here, then I will win CMP against them. At least this way, they can draw a shield against us. With that said, I can still go for the next close combat. If they go and stay in, I can go for the second one on this next CMP as well. Our opponent is still on this Zacian here. They have not swapped out, no catch on this close combat. In comes a move, down goes their second shield, and honestly, at this point, I think Palkia might be able to set up against this Pokemon. I can resist the Metal Claw damage. While it is a Fairy and Steel-type Pokemon, it doesn't want to stay in this matchup, not when it's so debuffed. In comes a Kyurem here in the back line. They're going to be able to go for some Fusion Bolts against us. In fact, I think here comes one now. That was not even I think 8 is to get to the free shock is the harder move. Honestly, though, that still does quite a bit of damage to us here, puts us deep into the red. We catch the next move, which I guess is a good idea, but man, this Kyurem actually putting in a bit of work into our backline right now. Fusion Bolt comes through, does a decent chunk of damage as well, despite being resisted by our ground typing. What are we going to see come in? It's going to be the Palkia, actually, from our opponent here, which means now this Sandsear Storm should be able to put them pretty low, maybe into Stone Edge range. We still have a lot of energy left over as well on our own Palkia. This should be a win, unless maybe a Stone Edge gets caught by their Zacian. That might be a way that we could lose this match. In comes the next move here. Aqua Tail would knock us out from this range. I'm going to go now for the instant Stone Edge. Our opponent is not going to catch the move. We have 2 more Aqua Tails on our own Palkia. We should be able to swap out, go for the back-to-back charge attacks into their Zacian, and take the win here in the first game. Aqua Tail number 1 is going to be loaded. Now, if they did have a close combat ready, this Pokemon has like 290-something attack. It wins CMP against literally every single Pokemon in Master League, so I would not have won this CMP if they had the attack here, but we knew they were energy dry. We can knock them out and take the win there. GG to our opponent. Next game, Zacian into Palkia. A pretty good lead matchup here, but it is a little bit awkward where I have no fast food pressure. I was not sure what the heck that Pokemon was, a Steel and Ghost type. I know in the future here, in about a week or so, we'll be seeing Aegislash come into Pokemon Go, which is another Steel and Ghost type Pokemon, but I've not seen this pick in a while, not in the Master League especially. So what I'm going to try to do at this point is go for my Landorus, go for the Sandsear Storms after trying to build up as much energy as we can. They might go for a shield here. They might let it go. They do have to let their Goldengo go down, which I guess makes sense at this point. They know I have the second move ready, and comes that Palkia once again. And I'm a little bit worried at this point. Our opponent in the backline could have another Steel type. It might be a dog of their own. It might be a Pokemon just in general that we might want to save our Landorus for. I am forced to throw the next move, but I do want to swap out if I can. This way I can keep that energy there if we need it. And in the backline, there it is. It's their own dog. I think this is going to be a pretty neutral game at this point because I do have back-to-back close combat right now. But that said, they are just 6 away from their next one. I am 7 away from mine. Did I see who wins CMP here? It actually is going to be me. I, once again, am the only one best buddied in this matchup. The main reason to have the best buddy here in Master League a lot of the time is to win the mirror match. There are some Pokemon you want to have breakpoints for and stuff, which, I mean, that it's so complicated if you know what you're doing in Master League. I don't know quite as well what I'm doing with my best buddy. I just slapped it on our lead Pokemon here, and it seems like it's working out right now. We guarantee the CMP against this final close combat. This should get the knockout against this opposing Zacian, and now we can Dragon Breath down the Palkia and take the win here. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Zacian up against a Shadow Rhyperior, and this is a little tricky for the team. I actually do have super effective damage against this Pokemon across the board here, but I know that Breaking Swipe is pretty bad for Palkia to deal with. They outpace us, but man, I hate this matchup so much, actually. They're doing so much to us with these Mud Saps. I was just wanting to test out how this was going to go. This is not looking too good. They go for the Breaking Swipe bait as well. That move would have done almost nothing to a Fairy and Steel-type Pokemon, but I shielded it up like a bozo anyway. In comes a close combat. It will draw their shield. We just barely don't reach the second one here, unfortunately, although Metal Claw has put them pretty low. I'm going to bring in our Landorus now, try to get a farm down here if we can, but not before they're able to reach a Rock Wrecker. This move would do a massive amount of damage. Shadow Rock Wrecker into a Landorus. That would have basically one-shot us, so we do shield the attack up. What is in the backline? It's actually a second Steel-type Pokemon, or second, rather, Pokemon weak to ground-type damage. It's the Steel-type Zamazenta, but it's running Ice Fang, which is a moveset that I didn't even know it could have here. I am going to be honest, I am a noob when it comes to Master League, at least this current meta, so I did not know Ice Fang was a thing, but that makes so much sense because they are shredding through my HP here. We get 2 debuffs against them, and we see a Necrozma in the backline. Is there ever a chance for us to win this game? I think the only chance is if we can one-shot them with a Spatial Rend. Now, I know this move's strong, but I also know while Necrozma is squishy, it's not that squishy. They do survive the attack here. They can reach a Moongeist Beam, which should be able to knock us out in return. Unfortunately, at this point, I think that Zamazenta is going to close out this backline unless I can get a perfect farm down. We don't quite get enough energy to have a Sandsear Storm. They have a move ready to go. Behemoth Bash or Close Combat, whatever move they're going to throw into us here is going to knock us out. Close Combat looks to be the move of choice. Down goes our Landorus. GG there to them. Next game, Zacian into a Palkia. Another good lead matchup here for us, although it can be a little bit awkward saying I only have charge attack pressure into them. They say swap a Solgaleo, and I'm going to bring in my best counter to this Pokemon, my Landorus. Once again, though, I'm kind of worried that if they brought this Pokemon out here, does that mean there's two Pokemon weak to ground type damage in the backline? Should I keep my Landorus around if I can, or should I just kind of keep switch, let it go down, and hope that Palkia into the third Pokemon is going to be good? Sandsear Storm comes through, rather. It is able to put them deep into the red, potentially into Mudshot downrange, but because I know these Psychic Fangs are going to lower my defense more and more, I do have to shield to be able to keep switch. We do get that full Mudshot down, which is nice to see. I have a move ready to go into this Palkia when it comes back in. The switch clock is back up. Do we want to switch out, or at this point, should we just let switch go? No, we do end up keeping or letting switch go in this game, and in comes a second Steel type. Not the Steel type I thought it was going to be, though. That is a Heatran, a Pokemon that has honestly almost no attack here compared to a lot of Pokemon in Master League. So these super effective fire spins, even after that debuff, not quite enough damage to one-shot us or to farm us all the way down. We're going to take that Magma Storm. We do get knocked out, but I think we have enough energy on our Landorus to reach another Sandsear Storm before they're able to farm us all the way down. And if that is the case, then just getting that final shield should be able to win us this game. They could let this move go if they want to, but if they do let this move through, then at this point, I can farm down that Palkia. If they do shield, all it's going to take is an Aqua Tail here, maybe a Spatial Friend as well against that Palkia, or if they're not even going to throw any energy here, might as well just snipe them down. Then I can just drag them down the rest of their Palkia, and we should be able to win the game. We chipped them down with that Sandsear Storm earlier on. They don't have a lot of energy, which means now even an Aqua Tail plus the Faster Pressure should be able to knock out the opposing Dragon-type Pokemon. In comes the extremely resistant Water-type move, but it still does put them into 2 more Dragon Breath range. We're able to get the farm down. GG to our opponent. Next game, Urshifu. Okay, that's a bit of a flex. A Pokemon I myself do not have for the Master League. Takes a lot of XL candies. Maybe they bottle capped there as well. There's as well, that is. Geez. And this Pokemon is going to try its best with Counter Aqua Jet. I believe Dynamic Punch as well is a move that it can have. So honestly, a pretty efficient moveset. Imagine this Pokemon before the counter nerf. It would have been even more insane. I bring in my Landorus after drawing that shield. I honestly have no idea how to take this Pokemon down. Aqua Jet is super effective into us, and they're already at the next one. Obviously, I need to work on my Master League counts here. In comes the next Aqua Jet. Down goes our second shield. How much does a Sandsear Storm do? I don't even know. Is this Pokemon squishy? Is it bulky? It's really hard to tell at this point. The counters have done quite a bit of damage, though, to our Landorus, but the Sandsear Storm, not even enough to knock them out. I have the second one ready to go. If they do let this move go down, then at the very least, I've knocked out the Urshifu. They do shield, which is interesting at this point. We'll have to see what's in the back line. I think we can survive a double debuffed Aqua Jet. Yeah, I mean, we do survive the move here. We swap, but they swap at the exact same time. I bring in my Zacian. They bring in a Lunala. I get to land a Behemoth Blade into this Pokemon. How much damage is this move about to do? I mean, it does some. It doesn't one-shot. I was kind of hoping to get the one-hit KO there to make it so I could knock this out and not even take this move. I guess this is still fine. Maybe I get to farm down with my Palkia, but I know that Behemoth Blade, it's not the strongest attack in the game. It's basically the attack stat of Zacian that makes her moves do so much damage, so it makes sense why we wouldn't one-shot. Lunala is actually pretty bulky as well. We get that full farm down. In comes Lunala number 2, I guess, the Necrozma. This is going to be an interesting game. Can we win this match at this point? It's going to be very close. Maybe I need to make a catch because we know this is not one-shot. It does end up landing no catch by our opponent here. We're going to go for the catch of our own, but they overfarm. We swap, they swap, but they simul KO us. Somehow the counters are able to knock us out at the exact same time. Just barely cannot Dragon Breath down. In comes the Moongeist Beam against our Palkia. Necrozma knocks us out. Well played to our opponent. Very close match. Next game, Zacian up against, we saw this earlier, Rhyperior. I think the last one was the Shadow Rhyperior, which was very tricky. This time I'm going to safe swap our Landorus and see what we can do. We end up baiting out a Zamazenta of all things. Now, while this is not a great matchup saying they have Ice Fang, they swapped so late at this point that I can actually get a shield advantage here, debuff them twice, and maybe start building up energy on our Zacian. In comes our second Sandsear Storm. This move is going to likely land. This Zamazenta is actually pretty bulky, right? That was a super effective move. One-shot damage as well, not doing that much. That's just how bulky this Pokemon is going to be here. And the thing is, they're on Ice Fang, right? Which means the Fast Pressure doesn't do that much to us. They're at -2 as well. How much damage does a Behemoth Bash do? Honestly, not too much. I guess a close combat might do a little bit more damage to us right now. In comes the next attack. What is it going to be? Close combat actually does quite a bit of damage to us here, but then they swap out into their Rhyperior. Interesting play by our opponent at this point. I don't know what this means might be in the backline. I would assume it could be a Ho-Oh. I've seen a lot of Ho-Oh Rhyperior cores here in this meta. I'm going to no-shield hoping at this point that this is just a breaking swipe. I would assume it would be, but no, Rock Wrecker comes through, nearly one-shots the remainder of my HP on Palkia. This game is going to be very tricky to win, but we'll see if we can here. In comes the Aquatail. Down goes that Rhyperior. What's going to come in? Maybe that Zamazenta, because they have enough HP. Maybe they can go for an Ice Fang down against us. Our opponent thinking, there it is. The Zamazenta does come back in. Can we farm down? No, not quite. They Ice Fang us all the way down. One Metal Claw knocks them out, which I guess is good. What's in the backline? Hold up. This could be winnable. Can I reach a move here? We're able to just barely reach the Behemoth Blade. This will easily one-shot this Kyurem Black. In comes the Steel-type damage. Down goes the Kyurem. Very cool animation, and we're able to take the win. GG to our opponent. Next matchup, Kyurem Black this time in the lead. A very good scenario. Our opponent instantly swapping into a Rhyperior, and we have the perfect counter to this with our Landorus. With that said, they likely are trying to bait out a Landorus with this safe swap. Maybe another Steel type or a Pokemon that's weak to ground in the backline. Rockwrecker getting a shield on our end here, and I'm going to overfarm as much as we can. The thing is, I know while there is that Kyurem from the lead, I have Stone Edge on this Pokemon. I also have Dragon Breath on my Palkia if I need that in the backline. So honestly, Kyurem Black does not have a lot of wiggle room, but I also just want to get rid of that Rhyperior if I can. It's actually on Dragon Tail as well, a very unique moveset, saying at this point, we are in a meta where there's a ton of Zacian running around, a ton of Steel and Fairy-type Pokemon, so Dragon Tail is not going to have a lot of coverage into the current meta. In comes the Charge Attack. I'm going to actually shield this up here. Might be a misplay, but I also think at this point, just double debuffing the final Pokemon could be a good idea. In comes a Ho-Oh here in the back line, and we don't even need to double debuff this at this point. Just go for the Stone Edge, guarantee a shield, and now Palkia should be able to get to 2 Charge Attacks against this Pokemon before they're able to knock us out. A pretty smart play here by our opponent, though. They end up going for 3 more Incinerates and then throwing a move, likely a Sacred Fire coming through. The way that they can win this game is if they go for Sacred Fire and then Vapor. They need 2 charge attacks anyway, but if they could have got a debuff on that attack, this would have made it so much harder for me to knock them out. Luckily, we did dodge that debuff, which means this Aquatail is still at full damage. It should basically knock them out from this range. In comes the Aquatail, not quite enough here, but it will be enough to farm them the rest of the way down, and we are able to take the win. GG to our opponent. Zacian against Zamazenta. Battle of the Doggos. Who wins this matchup? Now, it's actually kind of weird. Oh, they're on Metal Claw. I was going to say, if it's on Ice Fang, then we both do very little fast food pressure back and forth, but they do have neutral Metal Claw into us. With that said, we do have super effective close combat into them, whereas Behemoth Bash as well as close combat are both just going to be neutral into us. In comes our close combat here. They are technically weak to this move. Is it going to end up landing? Does it even one-shot, I guess, is the other question. They do shield the first. In comes the second. Our opponent might shield. They might let it go. Really depends on how desperate they are to get this Pokemon out of the way. They let it go. They surprisingly do survive the attack here. That Pokemon is so bulky. That was a super effective close combat coming through. Down goes our Zacian, but we can farm down with our Palkia. These Steel-type fast moves doing almost no fast food pressure into us, and a Metagross comes in. Insane team by our opponent. They're AVA weak to ground-type damage. I guess at this point, our Palkia is going to try its best to win this matchup, but we know at this point, our Landorus might not have a lot of wiggle room in the back. Bullet Punch has been buffed in this season. It honestly has done a bit of damage here to our Palkia. Shield up a potential Earthquake, because if our Palkia is useful in the backline, I want to keep it healthy. And there is a Garchomp of all things in the back. I was not expecting to see this today. I guess our opponent does not have all of the legendaries in National League, or maybe they're just trying this out. Who's to say at this point? It's always up to people having fun here in the National League. Maybe they just want to try out Metagross and Garchomp. I think, though, at this point, we're in such a good spot where Landorus is actually just kind of triple good against his team, as well as our Palkia in the backline. So we can let this move go. What is it going to be? Outrage or Earth Power? Earth Power knocks us out, but Landorus can come in, go for a Sandsear Storm, knock them out, and then Sandsear Storm that Metagross, and this game should be ours. In comes the Sandsear Storm, down goes the Garchomp, and that Metagross in the backline is completely dry. They threw the Earthquake, so we can go for either the Sandsear Storm, or if they're going to top left, we can just take the win that way. GG to them. Next game, another urshifu. I don't really know how to deal with this Pokemon. Counter is such a good move. Even though it's not as good as it used to be, it's still such a strong fast food pressure attack. We safe swap our Landorus. They bring in their second water type with a Palkia, and at this point, I'm not quite sure what we can do in this game. I'm going to try, though, to go for the play where I at least invest 1 shield here, force a shield back from them, double debuff, and then potentially we can set up an ambitious Metal Claw down with our Zacian. If that is possible, then maybe the energy that we can have on our Steel and Fairy-type Pokemon might go at least a bit of a ways in the backline. In comes our next Sandsear Storm. We are able to draw that shield on that next move. In comes our next Sandsear Storm. Our opponent, hold on, they actually miscount here. We're able to either get a final shield or flip switch advantage. In comes the Sandseer. Down goes the Palkia. Good stuff, Landorus. But in comes that Zacian here. They're gonna try to farm us down. No, not just try, they actually do farm us down. That's actually kind of a catastrophic farm down. I probably should have gone for either the swap out there, or I don't even know at this point, because this Zacian I couldn't swap out. If I did, then we'd be in such a bad spot having our Palkia maybe aligned into it later on. And honestly, Zacian plus Urshifu is such a tricky core to deal with. Just not landing that Sandseer Storm with our Landorus potentially is all it's going to take here to lose this game. Dynamic Punch did an insane damage to us as well. This is not looking great. Spatial Friend's going to try his best to chip down this Pokemon, but because we already took a Behemoth Blade on our Zacian, we might just be in Metal Claw downrange. They're able to just barely reach this Aqua Tail before getting completely farmed down. Is this going to land? If it gets a shield, maybe there's a chance for us, but no, they're smart. They realize at this point that Aqua Tail is going to do a lot less damage. They might even just Metal Claw us down before we can reach back-to-back attacks. A close game, but unfortunately, Urshifu just proving to be just a bit too tricky for us. GG to our opponent. Next game, Zacian in the mirror match once again here. Our opponent actually does have the best buddy, just like me. We're the same exact spread. I'm actually missing a single defense stat on my Zacian. They must be as well. We're the same exact CP. In comes a Behemoth Blade. Interesting play by them. By going for that, though, it's going to guarantee that I always outpace them here to these close combats. So it's going to mean that while I would have a complete coin flip on CMP, now I'm just guaranteed to win the longer this matchup's going to go. They try to catch a move here. Very nice catch by our opponent, or a very nice attempt, I should say. But we overfarm, realizing at this point that Behemoth Blade is going to be a much better move to throw into them. We get a massive amount of damage into this Necrozma. We can farm down with Dragon Breath, take the Dark Pulse any day of the week, and we should have a lot of energy for whatever is going to come in. I would assume at this point we'll see that Zacian come right back in, saying that is a Fairy and Steel-type Pokemon. Our Dragon-type damage does nothing to them, although Aqua Tail, after the Fast and Pressure chip that we've already had, will put them pretty low. Aqua Tail coming through. Do we get a shield at this point? Our opponent likely will let it go down, saying Dragon Breath is never going to farm down a Pokemon like this. Doing a single damage every Dragon Breath in Mash League is going to be an abysmal time trying to farm them all the way down. Down goes our Palkia. In the backline is going to be a Kyurem White, and at this point, this should be game over. We have the ability to outpace to the Stone Edges. Our opponent might go for a shield on this attack, but even if they do, then we can just win with Zacian. I guess if they no shield as well, we can also just go and either force energy from them here or, shield farm down. It's fine, they'll just let this go. Farm down with our Landorus as well. And then, yeah, there's not much they can do with that Zacian in the backline. GG to our opponent. Next game, Ho-Oh in the lead, an abysmal lead matchup, one of the worst that I could possibly see. All of our damage is resisted by that Fire-type Pokemon. In comes a Palkia as the counter swap, and right now this game is not looking all that great. I'm going to try, though, once again, to play out this matchup like I have been, shield a single time, get two Sandseer Storms if I can, and try to debuff them, get a farm down with our Zacian, and hope that Palkia in the backline might be a good core breaker. In comes an Aqua Tail. We do end up shielding. In comes a Sandseer Storm as well. I make sure to, at the very least, bait a Stone Edge. There's a chance they can survive a Sandseer Storm, but if you bait the Rock-type move, there's a chance that they might want to invest that shield anyway, because they know that the Stone Edge would guarantee the knockout. In comes the Aqua Tail. Down goes our Landorus. And now I'm going to try to farm all the way down with our Zacian. Now, while this is going to be a huge farm down, we know our energy is not going to go that far, saying in the backline they do have that Ho-Oh. So I'm going to try to still farm down, but I'm not too confident on our odds of winning this game. We get that full farm down, nearly 100 energy here. In comes that Ho-Oh. We get as much Dragon Breath damage as we can. They're staying in, and I'm hoping that's a good sign, but potentially they just want to get our shield, and then they're going to come in with a hard counter to us here. Yeah, Rhyperior is going to come through. And a Zacian in the back line. Not what you want to see as a Dragon-type Pokemon. We have a lot of energy here, but we need 3 Aqua Tails to even start to threaten this pick, and they still have a shield. In comes Aqua Tail number 1, Aqua Tail number 2, going to try its best here in just a second. Our opponent building up so much energy. We do go for the CMP on what I'm hoping is a close combat right now. Our opponent plays it smart. They go for the Behemoth Blade, realizing that if they do end up debuffing their defense stat, that could potentially be a way that I could win this game. But yeah, because they don't debuff themselves, now I'm going to go for the CMP event on this close combat. Maybe I should have not debuffed my defense stat, though. There's a chance now they can just farm us all the way down with that Ho-Oh, and I would need energy as well on our Palkia. I might still have an Aqua Tail. I'm not quite sure. If I can reach a second close combat, there's a chance if I have an Aqua Tail in the back line that I can win this game. But I need to survive this next Incinerate. We are going to go for it, but we get incinerated down. Unfortunately, just barely not able to win a hard counter game. GG to our opponent. Next game, Primarina in the lead. Fairy types are Zacian's specialty, although this fairy type is rocking Waterfall, not quite as good for us here, saying that this neutral damage is adding up quite a bit, and they have access to a very neutral Hydro Cannon into us. In comes the attack, down goes about half of our remaining HP here, and we see in comes a Zamazenta. I do have my Landers, which in theory is good to counter Steel-type Pokemon, but it's a good thing I didn't instantly swap. We see that Ice Fang damage coming through. We have back-to-back close combats ready to go. I know it's a lot easier to throw close combats into this than it would be into that Primarina, and since they are on that move of Waterfall, our Palkia is probably not in the worst spot against that Fairy-type Pokemon. In comes a Charge Attack here. Might be a close combat, and if it is, I'm going to hope I can one-shield farm all the way down. Our opponent has debuffed their defense stat. In comes the full farm down against the Steel-type Pokemon. What is in the backline? Actually, we see the Primarina come back in. Interesting play by our opponent here. Going to go for the Aqua Tail. I think this should be able to two-shot them or come close to it at this point. Aqua Tail ends up landing. Our opponent tries to catch a move here. They actually have ABA Fairy, double dog, and ABA Fairy on this team. Interesting team comp from our opponent. Aqua Tail is going to just stall the switch clock as much as we can, and then I'll bring in my Landers to try our very best here to start landing some Sandsear Storms. A Behemoth Blade would nearly one-shot us at this point. Instead, they go for the close combat. Probably a smart play, but by doing that, now their defense stat is going to be lowered, so I think I can start really just pressuring faster pressure to farm them all the way down. Sandsear does draw the shield. Now their attack is at -1. They throw the Behemoth Blade after just a couple more Metal Claws. I think we are in a good spot still this game, but it could be a little bit awkward. Primarina does come back in. I want to snipe this thing down as quickly as I can, knowing that at this point, the only way we lose this game is if we end up losing our Palkia. While we do have to deal with two Fairy type in the backline here, we can go for the Aqua Tail against both of them, knock out the Primarina, knock out the Zacian, and this game should be in our favor. In comes the Aqua Tail, down goes the Zacian, and we're able to take the win. And with that, here we end off the day. I am going to be honest, Zacian was not my favorite Pokemon to use here today. Every time that we won the lead, it did have a lot of play, but every time we lost the lead, it's a Pokemon that when you lose a lead, you kind of just hard lose. Ho-Oh is abysmal for you to see. Pokemon as well, like that Rhyperior, that's pretty good into Palkia as well. Makes it just so tricky to come back from when you're behind. But it is insane. 5,600 CP, it's hard to not just admit that's a lot of stat product to try to get behind, and if you don't have the ability to resist the damage that this Pokemon's throwing, you basically always have to shield. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.